Okay, welcome to a new show that we've started called Happenings in the School District. My name is Dr. Maleyko. I'm Superintendent for Dearborn Public Schools. I'm here with two of my colleagues, guests on the show, Dr. Mosallam and Dr. Chochol. How are you both doing today?
Great, thanks, Dr.
Very good, thank you.
So we had the show last month, and we did get a lot of positive reception from it, and that individuals kind of liked the idea of, giving updates. And we thought, with today's day and age of technology and media, that we would try to, connect with the public about what's going on. So today's topic is on our new feeder track model of implementation. And so what we're going to do is have a little conversation here about that. I'll tell you a little bit of the history. I know Dr. Mosallam, I had actually spoken to you prior to my interviews with Superintendent about the feeder track model over at Fortson. Could you just talk a little bit about the history of how that started at the Fortson location?
Sure, definitely. During my tenure as principal of Fortson High School, one of our goals was to have more of a consistent dialogue between the elementary schools and middle schools, those that fed into Fortson High School, so that we can continue the systematic process of intervention strategies, reviewing of data, and the curriculum to ensure that we were in line with one another, so that there would be a seamless transition for our students as they went from elementary, middle school to high school. And we found that dialogue really supported the growth of our students as they went from grade to grade and level to level through vertical articulation.
Thank you. So when I was, just to go in the history of it, when I was applying for the superintendent position, it was one of the things that I looked at and I put in the 90-day plan about a feeder track model of instruction and how we could better collaborate between the elementary, middle, and high school. As I mentioned, I spoke to you, I spoke to many others in the district. I even spoke to our outgoing superintendent, Mr. Whiston, about the model. A couple of years ago, we restructured cabinet, and part of the reason we did this was to save money, but we also really wanted to increase the articulation between the levels, to get better cooperation. We're looking at, we have fifth graders that go to sixth grade, eighth graders go into ninth. Well, how can we make sure that our system is consistent throughout? And so, in all honesty too, my previous position of that was in human resources and executive director, staff, student services, and I was hearing things that we really needed to improve that. Not to say that there wasn't good things going on, but really we needed to work more collaboratively. And I don't know, Dr. Chochol, if you could speak to, one of the things that I think has been in education is this thing, okay, well, sort of a blame game of, oh, well, wait a minute, if the students aren't doing well, it was the elementary folks, if it was middle school, and if it was the high school, it's the, middle school folks. But now that you've changed and you've gone into this position where you were supervising elementary, solely elementary, and now you've had this transition where you're supervising the Fortson feeder track, which includes the elementary, middle, and high school. How is that going, and what are your thoughts on the new model?
Well, it's actually been a great transition. Being with the elementary schools for the past 4 years certainly gave me a firm foundation and an understanding of how that preschool component fed into elementary schools and what the curriculum was provided at the elementary level. And the transition started last year when Mrs. Peterson, our other executive director, joined the team, and extending that to a K-12 collaboration allows us to truly look at the teaching and learning that goes on K-12. It allows us to align the professional learning for teachers as well as administrators, and it will help us avoid some of those bumps that you mentioned earlier as you go from 5th grade to 6th grade, perhaps from 8th grade to 9th grade, because the administrators as well as teachers are all talking about the strategies that are common to students throughout that K-12 feeder. So it's been a very busy couple of months, as of course you know. Sure. Dr. Mosallam, Mrs. Peterson, and I have all been working together very closely in order to align our activities and plans so that the work that our busy administrators and teachers are doing is maximized. So I'd have to say that we are off to a very strong start.
Okay. That's great. And I can comment that I've seen that. Dr. Mosallam, congratulations, by the way, on your position.
Thank you.
You were appointed last month, and so it's something new. You're new to the team, but I've seen the three of you really working collaboratively together, and I think that's important. You all bring a different level of expertise. I know you have the strong elementary background, Dr. Chochol. You're more in the secondary, coming from high school with different experience, and I believe Ms. Peterson had she has high school but a stronger middle school background, so it seems like that kind of offsets, and in that I have seen you. Again, I would imagine though it's a lot more time between the three of you because you're really trying to find your way and feel each other out. I don't know if you have seen that, or any, feel, because to me what I've seen is just the teamwork for this model. It's going to be essential to work as a team. And that's what I've seen of the three of you. I'm sure you're probably still getting used to each other, right? Would that be?
Well, the teamwork element is very important to this process. Dr. Chochol and Mrs. Peterson and myself, we have been aligning the direction that we're going with each feeder group. And, we bring different things to the table where we can feed off of each other's, expertise in areas and ask questions in the areas where we may need more information. And as the process continues, I mean, it's a process wherein, we're taking the three feeder groups, into the same direction, and through that collaboration component is going to be key and crucial. And I think we all three of us feed upon each other's strengths in order to continue building that process.
So you had some history when you were Fortson principal, and some of my experience with the feeder model as well. When I was executive director, staff and student services, I kind of got involved with Etzel Ford actually. And what I would do at the time was Principal Casebolt, Principal Stanley of Principal Casebolt of Etzel, Principal Stanley of Salina Elementary, and Principal O'Wara, and his assistant principals from the intermediate building. And what we would do is we would rotate going to the buildings, and we would do walkthroughs. So you'd have the high school principal with the elementary in the high school walking through, and then you'd have Principal Casebolt in the elementary. So they were looking for quality instruction, collaborating. But the other thing that I saw was it was sending a message that really we are a team from preschool to 12th grade. As far as you have the high school principal in the elementary building, and what I saw, that was a powerful message we were sending not only to the students but the community, that we want to work together, in collaboration. So I guess what I would ask both of you is, our feeder meetings now have been structured where they're all in the buildings, and you have the high school principals with the middle school walking through the different schools. And I know tomorrow we have one in the morning. I'll be popping in to see you. Do you want to, either of you, comment on what's been going on with those meetings?
Sure. The feeder school meetings complement the once-a-month general administration meetings that you have for the administrative staff. And the planning, the communication between Dr. Mosallam, Mrs. Peterson, myself really is key to the consistency that goes on. Because the goal of having three feeders is to have one district with three feeder collaborations. So the communication is important, what we're focusing on in the feeders in terms of content, and then the fact that we're walking through classrooms each time. As you know, we rotate buildings so that each school in a feeder has an opportunity to host one of the meetings, and the administrators in that building define what the focus is for the walkthroughs. So they're connecting the focus for the walkthroughs to the Danielson framework, the domains and the critical attributes. So the hosting school gets to select what that focus is, and then the administrators walk through in groups, in teams, and then comment and give feedback on their observations. And the goal, as you mentioned, is to have the high school in with the elementary and middle school, to have the elementary schools and the middle schools visit each other, and also look at what's going on in high school so they know where their students are heading.
So all the meetings are occurring in the buildings close to instruction. It's a question for you, Dr. Mosallam. Yesterday we were actually at Fortson High School for a school improvement plan. School improvement plan, we have teams that go in, we go through every class in the school, and really, again, the purpose is, just like this feeder track, really, it's all about students and student learning. I think I've been pretty clear, I think you all have been clear, we have a consistent message that when it comes down to it, we're going to make choices in the best interest of students and their academic achievement. And so yesterday, we go into Fortson, and part of the feeder track model is that we have these feeder principals and administrators, and not only that, but teachers.
Yes. We
walked into there, and what did you see when you walked into that? I'll let you comment a little bit.
Our school improvement process has really grown, as you have mentioned, through your leadership and Mr. Wisson's leadership, and so on and so forth. And what we are noticing now, when we haven't all the feeder principals with a teacher from the building going through classrooms, it's a wonderful thing where when you have elementary school teachers who, it may have been the last time they were in a high school was when they were in high school, walking through a high school classroom and identifying and noticing all of the strong attributes that they find successful in their classroom also being implemented and are successful in a high school classroom. And that allows for that strong dialogue, that systematic dialogue, where they can support one another and say, how can we work together to increase student achievement? Because we're all seeing that the areas that our students are struggling are similar at elementary, middle, and high school. And the elements that help support that process is the same thing that we can use across the board. So that face-to-face, in the classroom, walking through the hallways with the kids, that environment where there's that consistent and positive dialogue truly will help the district and our students achieve at a higher level. Because now you're looking not just at a professional learning community within a school or a grade level, you're looking at a professional learning community across the district at all levels. So I think it's very, very, very powerful.
And we're getting a large participation of administrators. It's increasing, and part of the thing that I've been saying at every visit, part of my objective as well has been, as all of you, is to be in schools and be visible, close to instruction. So I'm there for school improvement plan visits, but also just for walkthroughs. And I've been, posting a lot of that on the blog and just making people know that I'm not there to catch anybody doing anything wrong. Yeah, somewhat to monitor, but to provide support, to really show that this is important and what's going on in the classroom is important. And I think, we've seen teachers. This is the first year we've had teachers on the committee from other buildings. And I know, for example, we were at Maples and other schools I could mention, across the district. And I saw the middle school principal talking to the teacher and the teacher from the high school saying, oh, this is a great idea. Or vice versa from Fortson. So really it's a share of the positive, at least that's the power of what I see, is really sharing positive dialogue of some of the strategies, and then maybe just having a real understanding of the different levels. I think Dr. Chochol, you made a comment to me while we were talking to the committee, and I don't know, there was probably 40 people in that building. It may have been a record for the number of, which was great to see.
It was nice.
To see people coming and supporting. But you made a comment, to me even that, you were in elementary and you really hadn't been much in a high school for instruction in a long time.
Right.
So what has, that move now, what have been the things that you are finding in a positive, and have there been any challenges because of that?
I would have to say that being in a high school, after being focused on elementary exclusively for the last probably 10, 15 years, allowed me to see that high school instruction, the teaching element, has been evolving and has changed. We saw a great increase in teachers with short lecture bursts and more hands-on engagement with students, so that students are saying more, they're doing more, very active learning environments, and I think that's a shift from when I last spent time in high schools, which was about 15 years ago. I believe that the collaboration, the professional learning community, the PLC model that Dearborn holds near and dear to their hearts, but also we firmly believe in the benefits of the collaborative PLC are evidenced certainly in the departments, at the high school level. Elementaries are set up a little bit differently with students in self-contained grades, but as we get into middle school and high school, the power of educators in a department collaborating regularly on the teaching and learning that is going on relative to the content area is not only extremely important, but it's also important then to bridge the reading and writing across content areas. And we can see that evidence not only when we were at Fortson, but certainly at Dearborn and Etzel Ford High School. So the fact that teachers PK-12 are utilizing the same strategies, they're utilizing language and literacy strategies and ensuring that students have opportunities to talk about what it is they're doing and not only follow through with directions, will help engage students at a deeper cognitive level, which will result in greater achievement short and long term. So I believe the changes have been primarily on the instructional end as the students are more deeply engaged in work.
Okay. And I know you told me you were having fun with it too, didn't you? Mentioned. So it is, but I could say that myself too. I'm having fun with the job. There's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So just so I can clarify for the people that are watching, so right now we have you, Dr. Chochol, you're supervising all the principals in the Fortson feeder track model, which includes the middle schools and elementary. I know we have that information posted on our blog. Dr. Mosallam, you have the Etzel Ford feeder track, and Ms. Peterson, who's in the audience today but not on the show, is over the Dearborn High. The other thing, though, we do have some special, maybe not within the schools, but we also have some areas of responsibility too. So you are busy too with, for example, Dr. Mosallam, you also have the Heights campus. Correct. With some of the models that are going on. And I think we're going to be talking about that in the next show on options that we offer for students. So I just wanted to let the individuals know that on top of the schools they supervise, we have the executive directors supervising some of our grant funding. We have technology in the district and all other things that are tied closely to instruction. So I just, in closing, I guess I would say that the whole purpose for this model, I believe that we all understand, and our executive cabinet meets on a weekly basis, Mondays, every Monday, to talk and collaborate. I think we're learning together. I think we do have some challenges as well. For example, we based our feeder off of the high school feeder, but we do have some schools that feed into more than one school. But the fact that the three of you are working collaboratively together on top of things together means that we're not operating three districts within one. We're just trying to gain a better understanding between the elementary, middle, and high school philosophy and instruction. And so by doing this, ultimately it is to help the students. I think everything we're doing, and I've been mentioning this wherever I go, is that we value our staff, we value all our employees, we value the parents, but ultimately we're here for the students, and we all have a job. And so why do we make this change that is outside the norm? Really it's about improving for the sake of the students and working better, like I think I heard teamwork. So that would be kind of my final comment. I don't know if either of you had a final comment that you like to make or anything, but really I just look at it as a way to help our children in the classroom, and I think we are going to have to evaluate it and possibly modify as we go. Would you agree with that we need to monitor?
Of course, just like with anything that we're ever going to do, we're always going to evaluate and modify as needed. And but I truly believe that this process will assist our students in growth through a systemic process of constantly reevaluating where we are from lower L all the way through high school and then into college.
And of course, our ultimate goal are increased graduation rates, students' career and college ready, and increasing student achievement, so that as they can connect what it is they're doing to where it is they're going, whether it's to middle school, to high school, and beyond to career or college, the important thing is to have healthy relationships with students and students who are engaged in the learning because they see the relevance.
And that goes to the next show that we're going to be talking about options we offer, because really, and we've been talking, students nowadays, it can't be just about graduation. It has to be about post-secondary beyond.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a great segue or lead into our next show that we're going to televise in put out there on the internet in a couple of weeks, which is options with students, with Miss Peterson. I also want in closing just to say that I do thank the Board of Education, because when I brought this idea to them after I got hired and they heard of it, they were very supportive, and they got behind me and said, look, this is something that's needed. We support you. We want you to monitor it, but let's go and do this and make this work for our children. So again, I want to thank the board along with the community. All right, until the next show, I appreciate you, Dr. Mosallam, Dr. Chochol, being here today, and thank you for taking your time. And I also want to just mention, I want to thank the crew here at Dearborn High. We have Isaiah Goddard and Mo Macklid. We also have Eric Schickfree and Kurt Doley here, very welcoming to allow us to come here. I think I love the fact, too, that I think the last show where we were talking about home visits, it actually looked like we were at Fortson, but we were really at Dearborn High. So I appreciate the work that the crew does here, too. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.